Welcome back to my channel. Today in this video I'm in the next city and it just so happens to be the beautiful Barcelona. As you guys know, I'm a balcony gardener and I've heard that there's a brand new urban garden in the sky here in Barcelona. Barcelona is well known for its golden beaches, incredible food and vibrant nightlife. I'm here to study urban green spaces, and one thing that's really interesting about Barcelona is how its urban planning has influenced urban green spaces all throughout the city. Until the 19th century, the city was constrained by its medieval walls as it was considered a military square, so its growth was limited. The city decided to demolish the walls and expand. The visionary behind the urban planning was Ildefons Cerdà, who considered traffic and transport along with sunlight and ventilation, envisaged a grid structure, open and egalitarian, also incorporating urban greenery. However, his vision of two-story blocks with greenery incorporated were not followed, and of course, capitalism took over. There are attempts all over the city to try and make it a little bit greener. I mean, just look at this green wall behind me. This is insane. The artificial rocks here almost simulate a cliff. A lot of the cliff faces on the side of the mountain have been destroyed, and with the expansion of the port it means that there's less cliff faces, so stuff like this is an attempt to try and bring in some wildlife back into the city. There's an increase in biophilic design all around the city. Biophilic design is an architectural approach that connects people with nature to improve health and well-being. It incorporates natural elements like light, plants and landscape features into buildings and outdoor spaces. These green designs not only help with well-being, but from a business point of view, they also help with insulation. That helps them to reduce their costs. It also helps to create some habitats in and around the city for urban wildlife. One negative to green infrastructure is the amount of water required to maintain the plants, and so Barcelona has had to select some drought-tolerant plants like these salvias in some of its public spaces in order to reduce and manage its water consumption. I started my quest of finding the Sky Garden by walking through the city and trying to isolate some community gardening projects, but that wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. What you'll find is that most of these little parks in these plazas are actually managed and run by the local council. They'll be in charge of all of the maintenance of that particular garden area. But some of these little parks have actually got some allotment spaces. Now, I've tried to get to a number of them on my own and I have not been able to get into any. But I've been lucky enough to meet somebody called Madeleine, who is a permaculture expert. And she sat down with me and explained exactly how these community gardens work. And she was able to point me in the direction of a community garden that is actually open. So let's go and have a look. This community gardening space is located right in the city centre. Here they grow everything from fruit to herbs, veg. It is an incredible achievement. However, it didn't always look this good. In fact, this area used to suffer from large-scale demolition, and it was actually known as the Hole of Shame. The neighbourhood took it upon themselves to work together to create a beautiful space within the city. Due to the fierce support from the local neighbourhood, the local government ended up allowing this park to stay, and now for the most part, the area is self-governed by the community. In the UK, allotment spaces are managed and run by a local committee. Here in Barcelona, it's the same, however, the committee must report to the local authority. Madeleine explained to me that they have regular visits from the local authority. These in essence are inspections, and if they're not happy with something, best believe it will have to change. As much as the community wants to interact with the local government, sometimes it can be slow and painful. However, their passion and drive keeps them pushing forward and keeps them maintaining this beautiful space. You dawn on my journey, and oof, let me tell you, it wouldn't be Europe without hills. Gosh, the things I do for you guys, man. Since being in the city, I'd only ever seen apartments, so I decided to go further uphill to see what normal houses are like. The view just kept getting better and better and gave me a real snapshot of what it looks like to live here in Barcelona. I came across this random green patch and I slowly realised that actually this has been planted with intent. This, in fact, is a guerrilla garden. Taller than me. Satalia is an open garden managed by the residents of the Satalia neighbourhood, which is in Pobosec, for everybody to enjoy. What is guerrilla gardening? Well, guerrilla gardening is the practice of growing plants without permission on land that's not yours. It's a form of environmental activism that can involve planting flowers, vegetables, or native species. The original urban planning vision for Barcelona was very, very green. Now that's not the case. As the city regenerates, people are losing more and more of their green space, so communities like this one are taking it into their own hands to create their own access to green space. It's crazy, I've come to the other side of Europe and people are still actively trying to find ways to connect to nature. That is a guerrilla gardening group, so these are local residents who have taken on a bit of an eyesore and turned it into something really beautiful that brings the community together. It's just awesome. The garden has become a central hub for the neighbourhood and the community to meet and to organise. The community hosts all sorts of workshops and grow sessions and have even worked together to turn these graffitied walls into beautiful murals. There are a number of these guerrilla gardens dotted all throughout the city. The idea is to push back against corporate greed and make sure that as the city regenerates, the people are included and green space is made. So much like Milan, it's not about having a front garden and back garden here. You would most likely have a pathway that leads to your front door, and if you're lucky, you've got a roof terrace on top. So you can see why people actively want to try and find or make their own green spaces. This is one of the main reasons why people use their balconies as gardens. It's pretty much embedded in the culture to grow your own herbs or have a tree and to really utilize whatever outside space that you have, because you're probably one of the lucky ones if you do have that outside space. Not just about growing for food security, there's also another positive about growing on the balcony here, and that is to produce shade so that your apartment is cooler. And that is exactly why these roads are lined with trees to help keep temperatures down. I may not have found the sky garden today, but I certainly had a lot to think about. As the night grew on, the crowds were absolutely filling the streets. There was music, there was loud banging. I had to investigate. It turns out I had arrived just in time for Correfoc The Fire Run festival. The drummers set the tempo for the parade, and then all hell breaks loose. No, literally. community groups dress up in their teams as devils. The devils brandish their fire weapons and follow the main parade. However, they will also charge you, hence the name Fire Run, because child, you need to run. It's highly advisable to wear long sleeves, hoods, and protective eyewear. Each one of the community groups harbours a secret weapon in the form of a magical beast. The cleanup operation starts right afterwards. Let me tell you guys, a time was had. I need to get some sleep, and hopefully tomorrow I'll manage to find the garden in the sky. Thanks to the fire run, I met somebody who gave me the location of the Sky Garden, and that is where I'm heading today. So we've been up into the mountain, but what happens to green space in the city? Well, I've come to one of Barcelona's newest urban parks, and this one's very, very different. Jardin de la Rambla de Sants is a park that is artificially built on top of a railway line and was opened fairly recently. Essentially, it encloses the railway lines to the point where the locals call it the box. It's designed to negate noise pollution from all of those trains going directly into the city, and the byproduct is on the roof of that box is a park. It was cheaper to build this brand new infrastructure than it was to bury the train lines. The promenade is 800 meters long and is 12 meters high from ground level, and covers a span of 20,000 square meters. Incredible to believe that this box on its roof houses 160 trees and 85,000 plants and shrubs organised into completely different gardens. Now, I've arrived here in late September, so this is at the real end of the season. Right now there's a lot of maintenance work going on to help the garden recover after experiencing severe droughts over this summer. With over 650 meters of climbing plants, tons of trees, this place has become a habitat for birds migrating through the city. There are multiple access points to the garden from different levels and different streets all throughout this neighborhood. I love the fact that the architects have kept this industrial feel to this garden. Just in terms of basic gardening, I found this pocket here, and this pocket here seems to be the one pocket of this whole park that is doing extremely well. They've kept the old railway lines, but most importantly, look at the mulch. So here there's a lot of mulch in there, which again is suppressing the weeds, but it's also keeping the moisture into the compost that they're using, which is why this whole section seems to be doing a lot better. Of course, take that with a pinch of salt because it is the end of September, so it has gone through, this whole park has gone through, you know, the battle with a drought, but you know, parts of it are doing well. Ah, look at this. So we've got grass here as well. And you can see the structures, these shelters where there's seating underneath, they are designed to replicate the train station. And so if you are on ground level, you can then take the escalators up, and so it is accessible. There are also lifts on either side all the way down, so everyone can access the space. This is something that you see quite regularly in parks here in Spain, even on the beaches, are outdoor gyms which people can access for free. And then here we are, right at the end of the line. I love how they've left this just as a reminder of what was once here. Over there we can see the hills where Mount Juic is, just behind those buildings. And behind me we've got the other mountain range, so we're pretty much slap bang in the middle. And so when I'm talking about things like wildlife corridors that the city's trying to create, the aim is to create these, I guess, stepping stones so that wildlife can get from the mountains over there and traverse their way through the cities. So you'll see all of these trees running down the streets. It's aimed to bring as much wildlife through the city. There has been some opposition to the garden, and that's because it's so high that it blocks the views from some people's balconies. However, projects like this demonstrate the local authorities' willingness to create green spaces. It shows that some of the guerrilla garden activism has worked. In the next episode of my Churchill Fellowship research trip, we are going to be taking a look at some of the solutions that the local authority has come up with in order to tackle the lack of urban green spaces. So, hopefully I will see you all again very, very soon. Bye!